Well, I tell you, out of nowhere. I mean, talk about healthy. My mother had never been in the hospital, no, except to have children. That's the only time she ever been in the hospital. So when she up and had a stroke, and I got this panicky call, and it felt like our whole world turned completely upside down.
That's Susie telling us in her own words what her parent crisis felt like. There's nothing like a crisis to get you focused. And that's the subject of this Aging Parents podcast, When Crisis Hits. When crisis hits, there's no way to describe that terrible sinking feeling. Overnight, your entire life suddenly changes. Thoughts start racing through your mind. I'm 1,000 miles away. How can I afford to take more time off from work? And what will I do with the kids? This couldn't have come at a worse time. Now, if you've had these or similar thoughts, you're normal. The first thing you need to realize is that your parents' crisis can throw you into a personal crisis of your own, if you let it. So stop and collect your thoughts. You may be in shock from the news. You may not be thinking clearly or objectively. It helps to talk with friends and relatives about the situation as soon as possible. Richard took care of his mom, who had Alzheimer's. He understands the dynamics of being in crisis.
The horrible thing about crisis is that your own ability to process doesn't work. Your own logic is gone. That's why I like the Alzheimer's Association's motto, someone to stand by you. If you're in crisis right now, you need someone to stand by you. You need someone to replace you momentarily. Some kind person, family member, neighbor, anyone who can interpose himself or herself so that that's who the patient sees, a calm facade, so that you can go off and scream and then go about taking care of the problem. And so it doesn't do any good to show the patient how frightened or upset you are by the situation. You have to find a way to smile and say, the plane's going down.
Kara learned from her parent care crisis the value of friends and family.
Well, the advice I would give to viewers who are caught in a crisis with their elderly parents is, one, you want to define the crisis as quickly as you can and try to get the appropriate help as quickly as you can, because obviously the person is in an age category that is of some risk. So you also want to bring in as many of the people that are close to them as you can and engage it as much as you can as a team.
To figure out what the situation really is, begin by asking yourself some basic questions. What is the status of my parent? Is it really a crisis now, or is it my first sense that my parent is going to need some help soon? Do I need to move mountains today, or do I have a few days to gather my resources together first? Who can help me, and what information do I need? Ron Cavell is a certified financial planner, and he has this advice.
The quickness of your response can be extremely important at a time like this. And that's hard to do because you want to sort of give in to your grief and the sadness, and it tends to immobilize people. But if ever there's a time that somebody needs to be strong and say, we've got jobs to do, let's get them done, that's the time to be moving quickly. It's never too late. It's always something that you can do.
Mark Kubik is a geriatrician. He's a physician who specializes in treating elders. He says,
if you get what I call the dreaded phone call in the middle of the night, conveying to you that there is an immediate crisis with your parent, and you haven't prepared, it's important to sit back and gather your resources to determine how long, if there is an acute crisis, will this crisis be going on. For instance, if your parent has had a stroke, there usually is a period of time when your parent will be in a hospital, when there may not be any need for immediate decisions. It will give you time to make the appropriate phone calls to their physician or to their discharge planner to try to align all the resources possible. It's also important to recognize that that period of acute illness will end, and some of the tougher decisions may then be needing to be made.
The idea is to determine what's going on with your parent, stabilize the crisis, and create a game plan for immediate and long-term caring. If your parents have done some planning with you or by themselves for their future, try and determine what work they've already done. Depending upon their situation, topics that need to be discussed can include medical and health considerations, housing and care needs, financial and insurance options, legal documents, and funeral arrangements. Dr. Kubik again.
What I think is very important to do in advance of a crisis is to have 2 pieces of paper already in your possession and in your parents' possession. One is a durable power of attorney, and the second is advance directives, which define the limits of medical therapy and to assign responsibility in the event of a crisis. The durable power of attorney helps establish who will be making decisions when the elder can no longer make decisions for themselves. That can either be for medical purposes or for financial purposes.
If you aren't familiar with these important legal documents, listen to the Legal Issues podcast to get a better understanding of their importance. Jim Furman, President and CEO of the National Council on Aging, says,
Before you make any hasty decision, find out about what all the choices are. Find out as much as you can about what mom and dad really want. Don't assume you know. Ask them, find out, and then see how you can match the choices with their goals to come up with the best solution for them.
Consider your own limitations. Ask yourself, how much can you realistically do to help your parent? What will this crisis mean in terms of your own life, your family, and your job? How does it affect your emotional state? Once the crisis is over, what is the long-term impact on those things? And remember, you can't do it all by yourself. Call on or create a support network as soon as possible. Enlist the help of your family, your siblings, your friends, and the people currently helping your parents. Include your parents' friends and neighbors, as well as people from their church, synagogue, or social and recreation clubs. And don't forget your parents' doctor and other health professionals. They can all help you and your parents get through this time of crisis. As you step through the crisis situation into your new role as caregiver, you're bound to make mistakes. But keep in mind that as long as you keep your parents' best interest at heart, it's okay to make a few mistakes along the way. If the choice made doesn't work out, re-examine it, get more information, and then try something else or make another choice. As a caregiver who's been through a crisis or two, Olin has some sound advice.
When a crisis hits, I think that the most important thing of it is to know that you're going to get through it somehow. Things work out. You need tolerance, you need understanding, and you need to know that you're not going to be able to do all of this by yourself, and you need people to reflect upon where you can look in the phone book under elder services and talk to people. You can talk to almost anyone that can lend you an ear, but just that whole episode of being so involved with this by yourself would put a tremendous burden upon you without having reflective listening. So if anybody could have a listener through this crisis, anyone else could make suggestions, someone with similar experience would do just a world of good to getting you through this. But without that type of retrospective and sounding board, it would be impossible to do it, at least the way I see it.
By making a plan and acting on it, the situation can move in a positive direction, a direction that will benefit both you and your parent. In the next podcast series called Getting Organized, you'll learn how to make an effective plan for dealing with your parents' care. This program was produced by agingparents.com, which is solely responsible for its contents.
Thank you for watching How to Handle Yourself and Your Elderly Parent When Crisis Hits. If you need more help when crisis hits, feel free to visit our website at agingparents.com. To watch more helpful videos, click here to subscribe, or watch another video. Also, you can check us out on Facebook or on Twitter. Thanks again for watching.